Sometimes, the ones they laugh at become the ones they salute. If you believe in perseverance, justice, and destiny, hit that subscribe button right now, because this story will move your soul. White right pointing backhand index, click here to subscribe to the Untold Struggles. It was a cloudy Monday morning at Roosevelt High School, Atlanta, 2026. The bell had just rung, and the chatter of teenagers filled the halls. Among them walked Elijah Carter, a 16-year-old junior, his clothes neat but clearly thrift, his shoes worn at the toes. He carried his notebooks like they were sacred, because to him, they were. His eyes gleamed with ambition, even as whispers followed him down the hall. That's Elijah, the janitor's kid. He says he's going to be president one day, a boy snorted. Man can't even afford lunch. Elijah kept walking. He had learned early that silence was a shield. That day, his class was having Career Vision Day. Each student would present their dream job to the class, a proud moment for most. When it was Elijah's turn, he stood tall before the whiteboard, holding a faded paper with the words, "My dream, to become President of the United States." The class erupted in laughter. Even Ms. Hargrove, his history teacher, chuckled before catching herself. "Elijah," she said, still smirking, "that's a big dream. Maybe start smaller, local politics, perhaps." He looked at her, steady and calm. "No, I said president. I want to change how people like me are seen." The laughter grew louder. Ms. Hargrove shook her head. "Elijah, sometimes you need to be realistic." That word, realistic, would echo in his mind for years. Outside of school, Elijah lived with his mother, Danielle Carter, a hospital janitor who worked double shifts. Their small apartment buzzed with the sound of leaky pipes and dreams deferred. But Elijah studied late every night. He watched speeches by great leaders, Obama, King, Mandela, and Malcolm X. Danielle would peek into his room and smile. "Baby, it's late. You need sleep." "One day, Ma," Elijah whispered, "they won't laugh anymore." Then came the local scholarship competition, an essay on leadership and social reform. Elijah poured his heart out, writing about unity, fairness, and opportunity. When he turned it in, Ms. Hargrove scanned it skeptically. Weeks later, the winners were announced over the intercom. First place, Elijah Carter. The class froze. Elijah stood, wide-eyed. Ms. Hargrove looked stunned, her smirk replaced by disbelief. He walked to the front office to receive his $500 scholarship, applause echoing behind him. But not from Ms. Hargrove. That night, Elijah sat under the flickering light in his room, holding the check like it was a prophecy. "This," he whispered, "is just the beginning." When life tells you to be realistic, that's when you dream even harder. If Elijah's story is inspiring you, stop right now, hit that subscribe button, and never miss another story of strength and victory. White right pointing backhand index, subscribe to the Untold Struggles. Years passed. Elijah attended Howard University on a full scholarship. He majored in political science, spent weekends volunteering at shelters, and spoke at youth rallies about hope and representation. He became known as the voice from the ground. But even in college, prejudice followed. One night, after a campus debate, a fellow student sneered. "You talk nice, Carter, but the world doesn't vote for guys like us." Elijah smiled softly. "Then we'll change who they vote for." His viral speeches caught attention online. Within months, he was invited to speak at Atlanta's Youth Policy Summit, where national media recorded his speech titled "Dreams Are Not Delusions." That video reached Ms. Hargrove's phone. She watched silently, replaying his words. "To every teacher who ever said we can't, thank you. You taught us who we never want to become." For the first time, she felt shame, deep, piercing shame. Elijah Carter, now 34, stood at a podium in Washington, D.C. His campaign banner waved behind him. Carter 2044, One Nation, One Dream. Reporters crowded the lawn, their flashes lighting the dusk sky. "Mr. Carter, do you really believe America's ready for another black president?" one journalist asked. He met her gaze firmly. "America's not about readiness. It's about growth. And we've grown." Behind the scenes, his campaign manager, Ava Johnson, whispered, "They're underestimating you again, Eli. Just like back in school." He smiled. "Good. That means I'm doing something right. His speeches drew millions. His grassroots movement, from the ground up, united young voters, working mothers, veterans, and forgotten communities. He talked less about politics and more about people. But the more he rose, the stronger the opposition grew. A smear campaign began. Anonymous articles appeared online. Is Elijah Carter fit to lead? Whispers of his humble beginnings were twisted into insults. The janitor's kid wants the nuclear codes. But Elijah didn't waver. He went on live TV and said, "I am the janitor's kid. And that's exactly why I understand this country." That clip broke the internet. Months later, Elijah returned to Roosevelt High School for a televised town hall event. The same hall where Ms. Hargrove once laughed at him was now decorated with campaign posters bearing his name. The auditorium was packed. Cameras flashed. Students screamed his name. As he took the stage, he paused, eyes scanning the crowd, until he saw her. Ms. Hargrove, now older, sitting in the front row. He smiled and said, "Once, in this very room, someone told me to be realistic. I thank her, because her words lit a fire in me." The crowd gasped. Ms. Hargrove's eyes welled with tears. She stood up and said softly into the MSC, "Mr. Carter, I was wrong. You made me believe again." Elijah nodded gently. We all have lessons to learn. The key is whether we grow from them. The audience erupted into applause. But just as the cheers reached their peak, a sudden alert popped on every screen. A leaked document alleging campaign fraud. The crowd gasped. Reporters ran for their cameras. Elijah froze. The twist had come. Over the next 48 hours, chaos erupted. News anchors speculated, rivals celebrated, and social media exploded with #CarterScandal hashtags. Elijah sat in his hotel room, hands clasped, eyes tired. Ava burst in with a laptop. "Eli, look at this. The leak, it's fake. It was traced to your opponent's campaign. We can prove it." He closed his eyes in relief. "Then we fight back." By dawn, he held a press conference, exposing the deception with calm authority. His composure silenced the room. "This campaign was never about me," he said. "It was about every kid who's ever been told they can't. You can. You will. And I'll never stop proving it." 3 months later, the results came in. Elijah Carter was declared President of the United States. In a sea of confetti, he stood on stage, tears glistening as the national anthem played. His mother, Danielle, hugged him tightly. "They laughed, baby," she whispered. "But look who's laughing now." Ms. Hargrove watched from home, hand over her heart, whispering, "I taught her president." Never let anyone tell you that your dream is too big. Elijah Carter's story reminds us that doubt is the beginning of destiny. If this story moved you, like, comment, share, and hit subscribe to the Untold Struggles for more powerful real-life lessons. The Untold Struggles.